Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. This is we're first having a public hearing of the South Russell Planning Commission. And Ruth, I'll have you call the roll.
James Weiss.
Here.
Mark Porter.
Here.
William Coons.
Here.
Elisa Buda. Here. Phyllis Green. Here.
So part of our process is if we have an application for a modification of a conditional use, so the school is not a permitted zoning use. It's a conditional use. And when there's a modification of a conditional use under our zoning, we have to set a public hearing on what the proposed changes are going to be. It's a little weird because then after the public hearing, then we have our regular meeting, and that's when we would actually vote whether or not to approve something. So generally what we do is we kind of have the presentation and discussion in the public hearing. And I see we've got a lot of members of the public here who are probably adjoining property owners who have an interest in what's going on. I suspect especially with the water situation, because that's always on everybody's mind here. So what we'll do is we just have one agenda item for the public hearing portion. We'll conduct the public hearing, get questions answered, do resident feedback. We'll do all of that in the public hearing portion, and then we'll close the public hearing, and then we'll conduct our regular planning commission meeting where we would then vote and consider those issues. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, so agenda item number 1 is PC case number 24-01. This is TDA Architects and Mr. Christopher Woofter, Director of Operations for Chagrin Schools, and this is for approval of a parking and storm drain improvements to the west parking lot at Gurney Elementary School. So who's here to present that?
I'll go ahead and introduce it, and I'll have TDA speak after that. I'm Christopher Woofter, Director of Operations at Chagrin Schools. Thank you very much for having us this evening, and thank you for those who are attending tonight. We're here today to really present our parking lot expansion. As many of you know, the parking lot along Gurney has gravel on the west side of the West Drive. You can kind of see there on the.
I don't know if we have like a satellite picture overview, like a Google Earth, that might be.
There you go. Thank you very much. We're going to be changing the West Drive to paved spaces instead of pouring gravel spaces. And then additionally, some parking on the east side of the same drive as well too, the unit side of that curve. We're hoping to also then add with the plan some additional walkway spaces between. This comes about of a need for additional parking based on the school staff, school volunteers, and school visitors. If any of you have been over there during some of our events, even during the school day, it can be really crowded. Additionally, widening the drive for buses to get through, and then providing some spaces that will also serve on the weekends for soccer and other use of fields too. So that is it in a nutshell. Our architect Ryan Schmidt with TDA is here today to kind of go into a little bit more detail, and then the civil engineer from Riverstone is here as well too to speak to some of the civil aspects regarding the drainage and water runoff and all of those things that I know there will be some questions about today too. So with that, I'm out to the road.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Ryan Schmidt with TDA Architecture. This is a good diagram. Is it okay if I stand up there?
Sure, absolutely. And if you want, we could pull up the plans too. If you
I
want.
start here real quick just to give a concept. Chris pointed out really well some of the items and issues, but as you can see here, obviously this is a school. This lot does fill up. This is filled up with some staff, and then staff park along here and in some of these spaces out in the gravel presently. But during the day, if a parent has a drop off, has picked up, something of that nature, this is already gummed up with staff and people that are already in the building. So this gets used up very quickly. So the concept is provide parking out in this area that's safe, secure, easily accessible, traversable for staff, so that you can put more of the staff over here and free up some of this parking area for visitors during the day. And then when you have bigger events at night, you do have spaces that will be along this area that are easier for people to park in more effectively. The other issue we have here is presently there's a bus route here for pickup and drop off. Again, this is like parent pickup and drop off over here, and then the bus garage up at the north here. But as buses come out and as cars are kind of coming out, there's like a giant, like 4, 5, 6 way intersection here by the time everything comes together. So part of the concept is to really kind of simplify this interaction between traffic. As you have all these people coming from the various directions to try and utilize this access point, it just creates confusion. And when you have kids crossing the parking lot and doing all those sorts of things, it creates unsafe conditions. So by simplifying an interaction so it is more of a T interaction, which you'll see in a minute, that does reduce the crossing points for all these people. It alleviates some of your views that you have to take across the site, and it makes it easier for drivers and pedestrians to get through that space. The other challenge that you have existing here is, while this is a nice concept, this kind of meandering road here, it doesn't necessarily serve the buses as well as it could. A straighter shot through this space will simplify that interaction, allows the bus to maintain a simple traffic path through there. And then after hours, on the weekends, all summer long, I have kids in the district. I've parked everywhere along here. There's every grass edge, every space along there gets occupied by cars, and you hunt and peck and try and find a space. This will simplify a lot of that and put people in real parking spaces rather than trying to pull into grassy areas and stuff like that. So
Ryan's also saying this from the fact that he has been a parent of 2 kids that have gone through Carnegie.
Yes. Been out there in the rain, I know what it's like. So if we could go to the development plans, I would appreciate it. This is fantastic, by the way. I really like your setup. This is the existing conditions. We can skip this sheet. And skip that sheet. This is kind of the meat of it. So what you see here, real simply first, this was that big kind of crazy intersection that I was pointing to before. What we did is we took out this drive here and just made it a simple T intersection. So again, as buses come down here, as parents come down here, as the preschool parents come through here, there's a stop bar there. They stop, they look 2 ways instead of looking 5 ways, and they're able to pull out into this straighter, more defined pathway through there. The parking along here is basically taking what is currently some gravel spaces and some just kind of edge spaces that people have utilized along this edge, simplifying it in a nice straight path along here, picking up not necessarily more spaces than you have if you're parking in the grass, but more paved spaces, and then utilizing this aisle to get to right around 100 spaces in this parking lot. What this does too is we do have a pathway along here. Presently, there's a little bit of concrete here. There's a crosswalk here. There's a crosswalk and a pathway, a gravel pathway down in this area. So what this does is it creates more methods, more ways for people to get from a concrete sidewalk along this edge back to the building in defined locations. So you don't have people just migrating across grassy areas, migrating across the driveway in an unsafe condition. It defines where people should be accessing these points along the drive. And all of that, again, is from that safety standpoint of trying to identify crossing locations and identify where people should be going, making it easy for them effectively. The other thing we are doing is we are putting several lights in this island. They'll be down, shining down, and they're basically just to eliminate the asphalt. The spread of the lighting will not extend off the property lines. So that's really just to take something and the minimal light levels. We're going with the minimal light levels of the code and as required in a parking area. And that's really because there is no light out there presently. There's one pole in this location. All of this lot area where people are pulling in after hours and things of that nature, there isn't anything giving any illumination. So think about a winter condition. You go there for a holiday concert, park there, it's snowy, it's icy. You can't see what you're walking across. This gives you a little bit of light on that nice new paved parking lot to get you safely from the building to your car and back and forth.
How many light poles are going to be along?
I think that'll show up on an electrical sheet, which I think is further down in the order. I think there's 4 or 5. And they're all placed in this island. The goal was not to pull them outside of here so that we could keep them as far away from the back of the property as possible, really shield those as much as possible. And they throw down onto the space, and the cutoff is such that it will not extend much past the edge of this.
So the lights go down like street lights.
Correct. The new LED streetlights, which point down, the high school is a good example where they got the cutoff heads on them so that they shine down onto the asphalt. It's really the goal. Presently, there was no drainage system really along this edge. There was a bit of a swale up in this area. And then there is some storm work that goes out to the street down here. But everything just kind of shed into the gravel and shed into the grass. The goal of this project was to create a way to channel the water that's been there, that's been on the driveway, that has been on the paved area, into essentially a swale that will come along this edge. And there is a bit of a depression there that will capture that. It's got EPA regulated sizing for release of water, so that when we tie into the storm system, we're not overburdening the system. So there are release rates that need to be followed, and our engineer has done all the calculations to make sure all those release rates into the storm system are met. But generally, you're going from no system to a storm drainage system along this edge, which should, in theory, help reduce some of that water runoff that's in the area. We do create these areas here where there will be a little bit of a berm for people to get from the parking lot to the playing fields as well, but you do need to maintain some form of swale along this edge to pick up that water.
So do those go over the swale? Like right now, it's kind of north of the baseball field there, there's a
culvert pipe.
there's a buildup over a culvert pipe that everybody kind of wants us.
Same concept.
Okay, so they're gonna have those at
Correct.
3 different points there.
Yeah, correct. And that's really to create that kind of pathway to get through it. Most times of the year, you're gonna be able to walk through the swell because it's gonna be grass and there's not gonna be water sitting in it, except for today. But you know, it will be damp when it's damp out. This will be damp because it will be constantly collecting all this water. We'll take it down in this area and slowly discharge it into the storm system.
How far does the swale go up?
I think it goes all the way up to here. Is that correct, Jeff?
Just about up there.
Yeah. And that's Jeff.
I'll just go over it.
Okay, yeah, I can wait for that then.
And that's kind of where the comfort station, is that right there on?
Correct. And we did take, presently there is kind of a little bit of concrete down in that area. We did use this opportunity to create a couple of ADA spaces up by the comfort station. Again, you do have parents and grandparents and people that go to see soccer and baseball and softball and all those sorts of things out there. This does give that kind of extension to some of our less able-bodied residents as well. Other questions, comments?
I think it's great. But the one concern I had was you know, if you could slow down just a little bit, I'm gonna sit here. So this is a big pickup drop off area. I mean, that's, you know, there's just a practice, so there's a lot of circulation going through here.
Correct.
So you're eliminating that extra drive. This does not appear to me that it can accommodate two-way traffic.
It's 27 feet, a typical drive is 24, so we actually made it bigger for the buses, we made this wider, or it's 28.
That's not, I mean, the buses are gonna be able, they're still gonna utilize this, right? So they're gonna be able to make this turn with this is parked up.
For sure. This is not a problem here, this is extremely wide, presently what you have there, it's probably 50.
I'm more worried about right there.
And again, that is in excess of what we presently do require, even for on-site roadways. That's about 28 feet, which again, a typical drive that we have, you know, for buses on most school sites is around 24. That gives you 2 12-foot lanes for traffic. That's not a road, but that is an on-site drive of sorts.
Okay,
So you can get 2 buses going by in either direction?
Yeah.
By the expansion you're talking about?
Correct.
so that's wide enough right there for 2 buses could go through there.
Correct, and part of that, probably just scale with my finger. Part of the issue is some of these areas like this is quite wide. From what it is, it's just an expanse of asphalt that I don't know what the logic was when it was laid out at the time it was laid out. I can't speak to what that was. But it's more than you need on a typical site. We do have this cut here, and part of it is, probably part of that wideness is just to get the swing that you need on those. But it's ample, the amount of asphalt that you have there. The thing that we get out of this is this drive, and I've been on this plenty of times, I've been parked over here waiting for my kids. You have kids that walk across that lot, walk across this lot, walk across this drive to get to vehicles over here. And again, by simplifying this and using this more of a loop, you reduce the amount of crossing points that you have there. In theory, hopefully, people utilize these parking spaces rather than having to park in a lot of these grassy areas.
Well, yeah, and I guess my other concern is that you're gonna curb all that, right? So, or no?
Generally, no.
I mean, so what are you gonna do when people start parking on the apex of that turn right there and, you know, you're not gonna be able to get two-way traffic through there? I just feel like you're narrowing that and it's turning into a choke
I
point.
see what you're saying.
As somebody who's had to go up and pick up my kid, drop off my kid
Yeah.
400 times between my 3 kids, so.
I mean, I could see that point.
We had that discussion when we did the design work as well as the widening drive at the request of the district. I think Brian was trying to think of cost and we wanted it to be wider, but that area does need to remove, I mean, we need to police that so there's no parking. I feel like that's from a fire perspective, just from a general water perspective, that whole area. So that needs to be signed so there's no parking and we need to be enforced. Now, we have a problem enforcing it, just a matter of renorming people, if you will, going out there because people will park there unless we're diligent about signing it and addressing it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problems are after school hours, that's your challenge. I mean, it's either in the evenings or on Saturdays, so there's not really anything you can do.
No, you're right, that's true. That's correct.
Some sections of split rail could possibly.
I've seen, like over at the high school, they've got the big stones as well. I mean, that's a way that you can kind of place those along that edge to discourage it. There are people that are gonna break the rules no matter what you do. Yeah, you'll see that.
We'll be open boulders or other options if you got some funds.
Yeah, I like eliminating that other item. I think that was a great idea. I just, again, my only concern was that looks awfully narrow to me, right there, between those handicap spots by the comfort station, shack, snack shack, and where you've kind of extended out the grassy area.
I will assure you the width is ample if people follow the rules. But I get what you're saying with that, and if that's the perception, I can understand where you're coming from with that too. I could totally,
I mean, people are gonna park along there,
I could see somebody making that move.
especially if it's not curbed.
Right.
The boulders would probably help.
Yeah.
Phyllis did something too.
No, I have a question about the sewers.
Mhm.
So I understand that you're sort of controlling the flow rate, but it seems like eventually it'll be a lot more water going into the sewer system overall. So did you guys think about the impact of that?
So I'll speak on behalf of that. Jeff Charter with Riverstone Company, provide the civil engineering for the site. So yes, we are going to be increasing impervious area on the site. Actually, when you boil down the numbers, we're actually only increasing impervious area by about 10,000 square feet. When you're thinking of the total area of this, they have the parcel, which is I believe over 10 acres, but the area where we're laying to our work is under 3 acres. We're actually only adding about 10,000 square feet. Now, that does mean an increase in stormwater volume, but that doesn't necessarily mean an increase in stormwater discharge. What we're doing in this situation is we're installing a detention basin. And actually, I'll come over here real quickly. If you don't mind, I'll point as well. And actually, if you go to the next sheet down, which should be the utility plan. Yeah, so it's a little harder to read when you're standing right next to it. But when you're over there. So actually, if you scroll down just a little bit more, there we go. All right. So here, we have a detention basin down here at the south end of the site. Yeah, my beard's here. South end of the site. What we're going to be doing is, basically, we kind of cut the parking lot in half. So this half of the parking lot is going to be draining into this detention basin, where we're going to hold it, we're going to detain it, and we're going to release it at a reduced rate. We've got two things actually going on there. One is a water quality treatment, which we have a water quality line that we have to treat per the EPA. That water sits in there for 48 hours and draws down over time, very low rate. Then we have our detention volume above that. And again, we're going to hold it in that basin using our outlet structure over here. Slow down the rate that is coming out of that catch basin, out of that detention basin before it goes into the sewer down here. Now, what we're doing is, so the upper half of the parking lot will shoot flow off of the parking lot through curb cuts and then swale. And there is an existing catch basin that will be picking that up. That's that catch basin right there. That sewer comes down here, and this catch basin then to here and then out. So really what happens is this water kind of gets into that system first and makes its way out, and then the water that's in here kind of follows afterwards. So it slows down how much water is getting there, how quickly it's getting there. Like I said, the increase in impervious area is about 10,000 square feet. And what that does, that equates to, when we do our detention calculations, a 1-year critical storm, which means for our site, we have to detain our post-development flow for the 1 year, post-development flow to meet the pre-development flow in this situation for 1, 2, 5, 10, 25, 15, 100-year storm. I can keep going on and on. But, so what that means is basically, we can't be sending more off the site than what we're already sending off the site. If we were doing more impervious area, we would actually have a little bit more stricter standards. That's just a standard throughout, when you calculate your critical storm. So in this case, it's 1 year, so basically we have to meet pre to post. In the detention basin, when we do our water quality and the detention, it just automatically works out that you actually do more than that. Because we make a really complicated structure to discharge the water and have more outlets and more orifices that you really hit that number, but we try to simplify them as much as possible. So we have, I believe actually, can you go to the next page? Yeah, so actually, and then if you could zoom out, please. Yeah, all right, we're down here. So this is our outlet structure that you see in this detention basin. So we have what's called a micro pool down here, which basically holds sediment, garbage in there, stuff that you don't want into the storm system. We'll collect in here. That it does need to get cleaned out every so often, but that's it sits in there. Then the water actually fills up, comes through, and we have this nice little T inside of the structure where we have a water quality orifice. That is, I think, a 1-inch orifice. I cannot read that. I'm sorry. Oh. I have my brain report here. I'm sorry. So I'll just cheat this and get through. Oh yeah. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch. So if you're talking a water quality orifice about 3/4 of an inch, and you're going to release the water quality volume, which I think is about 1,600 cubic feet, out of that through 48 hours. So if you have a really small storm, that water is not going to be coming out. Now, when you have larger storms, as we know we have, up here, it slowly starts to fill up. That's still our primary outlet until you reach we have an opening inside of the catch basin, and then the water will start going into there. And then from there, it discharges a large 48-inch storm sewer that runs across the property line over there. Just for reference, like I said, I grabbed my report here because I don't remember all the numbers off the top of my head. Now, when I say 1 year, 2 year, all that storm, that doesn't mean it happens every time it rains, but it just means that throughout the year, we have a 100% chance of this rain happening. So for a 1 year storm, the pre-development runoff off this entire site is 4.64 CFS. Okay? We're only allowed out 4.64 CFS. When we end up with our detention system here, including what's not going through the detention basin and then through the detention basin, our peak discharge for the 1 year storm is 2.75. So that's nearly a 2 CFS reduction in runoff just for the 1 year storm. Now, as the storms get higher, obviously we're allowed more runoff to be discharged, so we do discharge a little bit more, but we're still underneath what we're allowed to discharge. I'll just kind of go up to the 5 year. For the 2 year storm, we're allowed 6, we're only discharging 3.9, so more than 2 CFS less. The 5 year storm, we're allowed out 7.98, more than 8 CFS. Now we're discharging 6.5 CFS, so we're still about 1.5 CFS below what we're allowed to discharge. So we are over detaining in these situations, but we are easing the stress on the system as a whole. Yes.
When the average parent sees the word pond, they're gonna think of something, they're watching softball, a little kid gets in the pond. Explain what your
Sure.
precautions are.
So what this is, we call it a detention water quality basin or pond. Basically what that means is while it's raining, you're gonna see water in there. It's gonna slowly let out over time. The water quality line, like I mentioned before, EPA requirement is a 48-hour drawdown. So within 48 hours of it being done, of the end of the rain, this should be dry. You'll have water slowly discharge over that 48 hours. Unfortunately, that's an EPA thing, so we're kind of stuck with that. But we are slowly discharging over that 48 hours. So within 72 hours, that basin should be pretty dry, able to be walked on and everything. Now, the other thing is a lot of people think, oh, basin with steep sides, people are gonna fall in and all that stuff. When we design our basins, we use 3-to-1 slopes on the sides, going up and going down. People think 3-to-1 model's pretty steep. How many of you been out to Blossom? That's about what the lawn seating is out of Blossom. So it kind of deters you from going to it, but if you do go into it, it's not like you need a rope and ladder to get out of it.
And part of the point with that too is it's a mobile grade, so you have a mobile slope on it. If you get much steeper than that, then you have to start looking at things that will grow on a steep slope like that. So that's part of it.
Will it become an attractive nuisance for little kids? I mean, kids who go there and they play in the water and play in the mud.
I don't think so.
How wide is it? Will they want to sled down it?
No, it's not that steep. So right now we've got the bottom of our base, scroll up just a little bit. If you don't mind.
To give an indication too, there's presently a bit of a basin just north of this on site. I don't know if you've had any problems reported with that.
It doesn't fill with water though. I mean, how deep would this get before it would spill out of it? I mean, what's the maximum depth?
So maximum depth is, let's see here. So just for reference, the top of the basin is 1176. Our 100-year storm, which everybody is underneath water at that point in time, we're actually only at 74.62. So we actually have another foot of freeboard before it actually starts to spill over onto the properties to the south.
And that's a 100-year catastrophic.
We've had like 3 of those in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
Just throw it
As much as you'd like to say that, no, we have not had a 100-year storm recently. We've actually had 25 and 50, but we have not hit the 100-year storm yet. Most of the big ones that you guys think are 100-year storm are actually only around the 10-year storm, maybe a little bit more than that. So what we're looking at is we're coming up at 3-to-1, down to 3-to-1, and then back up 3-to-1 to our parking lot over here. So the basin's only about 6 feet deep at the most, which is right there. And so 6 feet at 3-to-1, that's 18 feet. So you got 18 feet to get down 6 feet. Then we do have the basin bottom here, which I do not remember how wide it is. And then we come back up at 3-to-1. And then we do have a plateau along the top of the basin for maintenance purposes, so that people can walk along there for maintenance purposes, maintaining it, mowing it, nice little level bench. And then we do come back down to 3-to-1, come down here. This is 73, this is 76, so you're only coming down about 3 feet to come down and match the existing grade along that property line over there. Yes.
No, go ahead.
Sorry.
Is that located right in the south side, right next to the girls' softball field now? Is that correct?
So yes, the softball field is over here. Well, there's a baseball field over here. Is it softball? Okay.
Softball.
So there's a softball field over here. So it is situated over here in the corner where we already were having some of those significant grade changes over here. And actually, we try to keep it as far over as way as we can, from there, so we still have room to walk and everything. And, you know, up and over there, you're still having the access and walking all the way around.
So so we have a 10-year storm. What depth is the water going to be in that basin?
10-year storm, the depth of that basin is gonna be, let's see, 73, 74, about 2 feet,
Okay, so 2 feet of water in there on a 10-year storm.
just about, yeah, ballpark.
Okay.
And you'd have to go down 4 feet to get to the water. Will it be
No
fenced? One thing, if you stood in the middle of it, your head would be above the.
Right, the intent was not to fence it, no. And oftentimes, in areas like this, we don't tend to do it. If it is a highly walkable area, we might tend to do that.
I know you'll be asked why a rain garden type situation was not one of your choices.
So rain gardens really don't provide a lot of stormwater detention. Rainwater is good for small quantities, where you're trying to sheet off like maybe a garage or something like that, where you have plants that really suck up the water. When we're talking larger areas like this, rain gardens, they're nice, they provide some water quality treatment, but they really don't provide detention. In the case like this, you're not gonna get the detention out of it that you would.
And you see them a lot in like Parkway and Park System and stuff of that nature. A lot of times they get utilized in those locations more from an educational standpoint, to show, you know, how stormwater can be dealt with. But again, they have acres to sheet flow their parking lots into, so.
And that's what we're doing now here is sheet flowing basically, right?
Yeah.
So with this slow release, do you have a calculation of, is the water coming off the property, the rate water is leaving the property, is it improved under this plan?
That's
But I'm saying that's improved from the current, even though
Yes.
they're adding the
Yes.
impervious surface.
So we were down, it was like about 2.5 to 3 cubic square feet. I thought you said something to that.
Yes, I'm sorry, I got the number right here. So for the 1-year storm, we're allowed out 4.6.
So I know you're doing better
Which that's what is coming off the site right now, based on our
Okay.
calculations.
that's what I didn't
Yeah.
understand.
So what is not saying there was that much of an improvement over those current.
I thought those were the maximum allowables and you were coming
Yes.
under them.
That is what is allowed because that's what's coming off the site right now.
Okay.
So, sorry.
No, that makes,
Could
that's,
you give us a general percentage range and how much we're improving that? I mean, maybe that's simplifying too much.
Depends on the storm, correct?
It depends on the storm because it varies.
Okay.
Let's see here.
It's better on a typical storm. The year storm to the 5-year storm, the percentages are better as you get bigger storms.
The bigger storm, the percentage goes down, but the smaller storms, the percentage is higher. So the more frequent storms that you're seeing, you're seeing a better reduction than the larger storms.
Ruth, could you go to the photo again? I'm just, I think something else that might be helpful for people, and I'm not 100% sure of. So, and maybe scroll down a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's,
It's goofy.
this thing is not the easiest
You
to
wanted
use.
to go,
No, so I can see more about, there you go, that's perfect. So you said there's an existing catch basin up by the comfort station, we'll call it, or near, yeah, there's one there.
Facing about the midpoint.
And then-
It would be on here. Where the tree, show, point toward the.
So there's an existing catch basin here that's collecting that upper portion. This bottom portion is gonna come into a swale that gets discharged to that basin, which is gonna be around in this area over here.
And then when it's discharging out of there, you said, so that catch basin kind of bypasses the retention area.
Yeah, actually, so this catch basin, yes, this catch basin goes into the existing system and continues to flow as it is right now.
So where does the could you just kind of, with your finger, show everybody where's the existing water going?
So right now, the existing water is coming off this parking lot, over this way, and then down this hillside. Now, there is a catch basin in the low spot over there, but I don't know how much that actually is collecting and how much of it is actually shedding off on the other people's properties. So that just kind of comes down, and then it kind of, if it doesn't make its way into the catch basin, it'll actually just sit in that area over there.
But then where the catch basins feed into.
So that goes into a 48-inch storm sewer that actually goes that way.
Okay, so it's going into the creek to
I
the east
think
then?
it is, I don't remember following it that far, seeing where it went, so.
I could be wrong, but I think it goes down the belt.
Does it go down the back?
I think there's an underground detention,
I thought so.
and it's, I believe it's a very large pipe underneath the driveway.
I thought it went down the driveway. I guess what I'm getting to is when it goes down the driveway, where is it going? Is it going into, if you could maybe go
Sugar Bush, maybe?
go a little more south? Yeah, is it going into Sugar Bush or is it bypassing that and running down, or I'm sorry, the other way, Ruth?
Yeah.
Does it show
Wrong
up?
side.
Does that show up on the survey?
Yeah, so is it going into that, is it going into there or is it
Is it
going
going into their?
down?
I got you, is it going into here? That I do not remember off the top of my head, I'll have to go back and I'll have to double check.
I have a
The map study.
question.
Down belt.
Are any of the residents that live in those 3 homes here today?
Jimmy's here.
Okay, so where's the water going now? It's going in your yard?
Yep,
Which house are you?
I'm the third one from the.
Right there?
Yeah, so you see to the left right there? The area between my house and my neighbor's.
Yeah, right there.
That's a giant, like, that's where most of the water comes, right down there, and then that spot where the arrow is right there turns into probably like a 4-foot lake during those bad storms. Just talking from the people that lived in my house prior to me, they had no water in our backyard, and for the past 10 years, anytime it rains, I'll say not significantly, but a good rain, my backyard would flood. I put a pool in 3 years ago and did all the drainage, so I haven't had any problems since. So that's kind of why I was here, just to make sure that like, all that stuff from when the fields got put in, it just all started going down to our 3 backyards, particularly in between 1109 and 1105, which is the 2 driveways to the middle of the screen there.
Are you saying when softball was put in, or?
Yeah, well, long time ago. But I noticed I've been there now for 10 years, and my backyard used to flood at least once a year, to the point of like standing water. Now, it wouldn't last long, obviously, but that area where that arrow is right now will still, during those big storms, will become 3-4 feet of standing water.
Well, your proposal, stop that.
I will have to look and see where that water is actually coming from, whether it's coming from the parking lot area, or if that's coming from the soccer fields, or.
Would you mind painting up just a smidge so we can see how that feels out to the north? Yeah. Just, I wanna see where this comes through.
Yeah. Okay. So this is down here at this end of the softball field and the soccer fields over here. So we're going to work over here with this parking lot over here. It may stem some of the flow that comes off and maybe seeps over this way. If that is coming possibly from here, I'll have to look into that a little bit. But that is a little bit outside of where we're performing our work over
Because
here.
you do have, I think the batting cages are kind of here, and they're up on a kind of a flatter platform. You do have, I mean, that would make some sense. That is.
Yeah, you can see like in my backyard, like we're probably over the course of, I don't know how long. It's actually it now comes down into almost like a little river. The kids actually love to go back with their little toys in it and watch it go from basically 100 feet, 300, 200 feet past my house, and they can watch it go all the way to the bell, so.
I think this brings up an issue that we're all concerned about here. I mean, you all have seen the central retention basin just outside that window. And we put that in because of stormwater considerations, particularly for the Parkland people in Chagrin Lakes and other places. And we had that July 25th storm last year. That basin was filled to 4-foot depth. So I don't know if it was a 100-year storm, but it sure looked like one. And Chagrin called it a 500-year storm. Point is that I'm not sure this, this retention pond is large enough. I mean, it might be okay for now, but as everybody's noticed, we're not getting the snow we used to. We're getting way more rain. So I'm wondering if that basin is large enough going forward so that it serves not just today, but down the road. And I think that, to Jim's question, I think there's that pipe that comes off of that area that does go down Bell, and I think this winds up in Sugar Bush. And I'd be surprised if it didn't. But that said, I don't know that the people on the Sugar Bush side need more water.
That's why I'm here.
Is there anyone from Sugar Bush here?
You know, none of us need more water in that sense.
Right, and you're private drive,
Yes.
so you really have to handle that on your own.
Well, I mean, all the water is getting thrown into the stream, which is causing us to have to deal with it, so, yes.
I'm just not convinced that those pipes are going into Sugar Bush Lake. I feel like you're already too far west. If you could just scroll.
They do go under the road.
Yeah, I think when they did Bell.
It goes onto it goes onto the road east of the driveway.
This goes, the water comes down, comes down this 48 inch from here.
So it's not
It goes
necessarily.
It goes down Bell.
Okay,
The water that's over here that you guys are getting comes from this area, but basically it's coming north, and that stays over here.
Yeah.
Because the road's higher, so all this water on the north side flows down. You don't have to, you're not gonna be a problem.
Yeah, Bill, I think you're 100% right.
Okay.
Because, that culvert it's between Maple Springs and Sugar Bush, and it's too far east of the driveway. None of that water is going east.
You're not getting Gurney water. You get other water, but you're not getting.
I thought they had put some of the school water because they were trying to eliminate some of the water going on the other side of Bell.
The only water I think you get from Gurney is probably from the east side of the driveway that comes down through the woods.
And even then, Bill, they're already past the culverts under the Bell. I mean, you're not getting any water that's west of where it goes under Bell between the Gurney driveway and.
There's no pipes under west, it's just would be east, it would be coming out and then going.
But it's not coming uphill. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you're looking at Gurney, the water's not going east.
The only other water you really get is the water that comes, really just comes right down the road. When you get this big rains, it's coming right down the concrete, and it goes, into Bell or over Bell, right into Sugar Bush. That's not what you're dealing with. Right. It's another Gurney issue.
So is that detention basin a 100-year detention basin?
That detention basin can hold 100 year, and then there's an additional foot of freeboard over that. So if in the future you want to make some modifications to the basin, to the outlet structure to reduce even further, you can. You just kind of reduce that amount of freeboard at the top of that basin. So for the 100-year storm, I'm sorry, I threw numbers around out there. 1174.62, top of the basin is 1176. So really at that 100-year storm, when that basin is full, you still have about a foot and 1.34 feet, 16 inches or so of room in that basin where you can actually hold more water. So if we do in an event get something more than that, it's not going to start topping over right away. There is still extra storage in that detention basin.
And currently you have 0 detention.
Correct.
So we're adding all this. We're adding up
Yes.
100-year storms worth.
Well, we're also adding more runoff too,
right.
because of the paved surfaces.
Ruth, could you lower this down a little bit? Slide it down. This isn't a part of your project, but if somehow this water that comes down through here, if you could channel that into the 48 inch and down, it would really help these people here. Because there's a lot of water, that water's just coming down from Manor's all the way down here. There's a swale there, but it's pretty well filled up too. that would be, it's not a part of your project, but it may be nice for the three.
Yeah, I think like less of the concern is just, we're used to that water, because we've had a number of really good storms. And there haven't been, to my knowledge, like with our 3 houses or even our neighbors, there haven't been any issues. But like, just making sure that there's not gonna be a significant
Don't make it worse.
amount of more water to where that it does become, so.
Yeah, this will, oh, go ahead. Are you able to pull up that, topo with basin again?
Is that it?
Yeah.
So there's that existing catch basin right now in the back.
I just wanna know where that goes.
So that 48-inch goes,
Goes east to the
yeah,
driveway.
if you go, can you go through the existing conditions drawing?
Say it again.
Existing conditions, probably page 2, maybe.
Is that it?
No, this will work, no, this is the document. That 48-inch,
One more.
well, yeah, no, one more. Oh, all right, now scroll down just a hair. So that 48-inch sewer comes along here, and then, yeah, maybe it does take that turn there.
I can really think it turns and goes out the drive, underneath the drive.
That's what it shows at the bottom of that second page.
Runs on the west side of the project.
That's my west side of the drive, and there's catch basins that go into the long drive.
It's all on.
It is a, I believe it is a 48-inch pipe all the way out to the drive.
This says
Should we
48 inch.
know from maybe some, people that I don't know, if you just from the history of it, that's not.
No, that's my recollection, but I can just swear that it's, recollection. And that also comes from us doing that in this room before, which has, his engineering, and then their engineer here. So it goes on.
Alright, so yeah, so that 48-inch does come here, there's a manhole here that turns and then goes up the driveway. Underground, yes, underground.
So let's come to the 4th, which is, that's where that,
In between,
that's what that is.
yeah, like directly.
Very good. Okay. Short answer is, shouldn't be affecting anything that direction. We should be improving this whole edge, which conceivably should help reduce some of that along that edge.
Just to reiterate, while you're creating more impervious surface, your calculations are, you're still reducing the flow rate off the
Yes,
property
yeah.
because you're adding retention.
Yes, because we're adding the detention to it, we're reducing what's coming off of the property. Yes.
Well, and I just think, from a school district stewardship perspective, anytime in the last 10 years we've done any major project, our goal was to reduce stormwater off the property by 20 to 30%. We don't want to meet the minimum allowance by the EPA and law because we just feel like being a good neighbor and adding as much as we feasibly can to a project without over-improving is the right call. So we've done that here, we've done it at the high school where we put detention bases underneath the tennis courts, and we did that. And, we try and add that as a, as an improvement to our projects, so we do so on projects.
Okay, there any other questions from the residents about stormwater issues or any other questions from the commission regarding the stormwater issues? Anything else anybody wants to see on the plan? I guess the parking would, I'd ask what's the current parking capacity, but since it's a big free-for-all, I don't really, nobody can tell what that is. So, how many official parking spots will you have after this?
After this, along that edge, there'll be about 100 extra spaces. That's not true. I mean, there's 100 spaces that we're providing there, but currently I think there's 12 or so that are up by the entrance to the gymnasium that are asphalted up in that area. So this is
Yes,
existing, so that takes away from our added spaces.
And you can probably subtract out too, and making sure that 100 number, it doesn't include the gravel spaces that actually aren't spaces.
Right.
It's a gravel parking area that doesn't have spaces spaced off, so,
Yeah, everybody, yeah, so existing, there's,
We
you know,
figured in excess of 40.
yeah, we think about additional 40-ish.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it that way, that gravel does start here and it ends around right here. So it goes along that edge.
I have a question. What is the timing of this project? What is your estimated timetable
To do the work or to start the work?
to start the work?
It would be summer this year would be the goal, and then the goal would be to be finished by start of school. So, that's not later, yeah.
We have a bid, and the board agreed to enter into contract with a company to do the work. And I think our contract is, and it's in the works, but we will be done before school starts.
And then-
And then can you talk a little bit too, maybe people had an interest in how we would tend to parking over the summer, or try to maintain fields and that sort of thing, the best we can.
Yeah, I mean, by and large, the actual amount of work, time-wise, won't take as long as everybody thinks. They got a lot of prep, and when they get in there and they actually start doing the excavation and getting the work done, the company that bid it is big. It was Chagrin Valley Paving, so that's changed names, but they have all the capacity to do this in a quick amount of time. To get all the asphalt and everything in place. The first thing they'll do is the basin, so they get all that stuff prepped and ready to go. Then they come back in, they cut in their base, they put down their stone, they put down the asphalt. Their goal is always to get in and out of there as quickly as possible because their machines being on site cost them money. So, project of this size is probably a 3-week time period for the actual paving bit of it. To get the basin cut in and get all their storm work done, that's probably another few weeks. So
now with the scope, or I'll call it the main parking lot, is that being repaved also and restriped, or no?
not as part of this project. This was recently restriped.
Yeah.
What about sign,
Painted last year also.
what about signage, signage up there? I mean, the state of the signage up there is,
Oh, did the school sign itself? Or do you mean?
no, like the mangled rusted stop sign that's been there as long as I can remember, stuff like that. I mean, are you gonna upgrade all the signage so it looks kind of like the main campus?
We can do that, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I mean, it would just be, I don't know if you've ever taken a good look at
Take note of
the
that.
signs. And then there's gonna be no work on that kind of upper parking lot?
Correct.
Okay.
We looked at that pretty extensively. There is no way to improve the amount of parking there, really, without making it longer and bigger and cutting into the trees and doing things of that nature. There was no real add benefit to manipulating that lot. We were trying to see if we could get even more spaces up there because we know that's a highly utilized area, but it just, the shape of it with the buses coming through, on the opposing side of it, there just wasn't a way to really increase that amount of parking much.
And has there been any thought I mean, the school's got a bunch of, lack of a better word, junk stored up in those kind of the 9 parking spaces on the far north end. I mean, has there been a thought of relocating that somewhere, maybe back into the bus garage parking lot and freeing up that? I mean, that contributes to part of the problem, I think.
Yeah, real quick, Jeff, if you want to talk to that.
We auctioned some of those off, so we emptied some, and then we moved.
The big trailer, the bike trailer, probably about 3 weeks ago or something like that. And we still have, I believe.
There's like a shipping container that's been sitting there for years.
Yeah, we have 3 units up there that we utilize for summer and winter equipment swap out. So we'll put our winter equipment in there during the summer and then swap out for summer equipment. We're kind of utilized under space with our equipment for that. You know, we tried to move a couple of us off there and sell them, but, you know.
And we sold a couple last month, was it? They came and picked them up?
Yeah, on our maintenance plan is to paint one of them for sure that needs painted. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's just,
I need a new shed, you can move one about a quarter
Yeah.
mile.
we just, we have a lot of outside folks coming for games, and I think the the Gurney campus, is not kept up to the same standards as the main campus, in my humble opinion. So I see a little more attention to it, just my 2 cents.
We have 2 residents from Manor Brook. I think you realize this has no effect on you, and please spread the word for the people that.
We'll be looking for you tomorrow morning. I'm on the board, so
So, yeah, you don't have to worry about anything.
As far as I can tell, I don't think it's gonna affect anything from a stormwater perspective. And it improves the current. Any other questions or comments?
My other thing was, I was mainly here for the storm issue, but having kids gone through Gurney already and 2 more coming up for the next 10+ years, it's very much needed. That parking area, that driving around there's a disaster, walking, pre-game, post-game, kids running everywhere. So anything that's gonna make anything safer up there is well.
A long time coming.
Yeah.
Is there any future plan, school district question, for enhancing or renovating the bus garage? I know that was discussed in the past with other levies or just conversational, but I didn't know if that
Yeah,
impacted this planning.
I'm happy to speak to that, generally. In fact, Ryan did the design on the bus garage probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's good, probably 5 years ago, we did master planning work, realized the bus garage was really undersized and kind of, it has some challenges with the building's near near the end of its useful life, but also the bays are pretty small for maintaining buses as well too. We've looked at redoing that bus garage. We have not made the decision to do it. I think, around the time of COVID and just after cost was a concern, construction costs, we looked at.
I could speak to that. I mean, when we were going through that whole process, there was a push to do it, but the cost increases that year when we were talking about, it went up almost 30% for construction across the board. So that kind of put a damper, I think, on expectations to get that done at that time. And we've been kind of wading through that since then, so.
And we've had a few other things that we felt like, okay, well, as we were prioritizing this project, felt a little bit more, I don't know, fitting the need of, from an educational and community perspective. That's still a needed piece. It's still something that I know the district is looking to do. I don't know when we come to for that, but it's really a Board of Education decision. We would go out to bid. Our drawings are ready for bid. We will then see the cost for the bids and then make a determination from the board to be able to, when to do that. I think the construction would typically start maybe in the fall.
Depends on when we bid.
Yeah.
It could start as early as, and not even end of school, it could start, in April, quite frankly, but it just really depends on when they decide, ultimately when they decide to bid it, so.
At one point in time, maybe again 5 years or so before we thought maybe the bus guys would do this, but again, it just didn't happen that long. But it's still on kind of a midterm type plan, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That would have been quite the job to do both at the same time.
Yeah, that's a huge.
Whereas you start at like one end and work your way to the belt.
Any other questions or comments? So what we'll do is we'll close the public hearing. We'll then call to order a regular meeting, and then at the regular meeting, we'll consider the application, and then we can get final comments from the planning commission members at that time. Okay, pretty good? So is there a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second, roll call please.
James Joyce.
Yes.
Mark Porter.
Yes.
William Coons.
Yes.
Elisa Rudolph.
Yes.
Phyllis Martin.
Yes.
Okay, it's 8:29. I will call to order the regular planning commission meeting of South Russell Village. If we could have a roll call.
James Joyce.
Here.
Mark Porter.
Here.
William Coons.
Here.
Elisa Rudolph. Here. Phyllis Martin.
Here.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from planning commission meeting on March 14th, 2024. Are there any corrections or comments regarding those?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. I will make a comment. Your minutes are always the best, and I'm on many different boards, but I love how you put in like the review standards and you embedded those into the minute. These were like, you're normally like an A+, this was like the extra credit, 110%.
Well, thank you.
So, yeah, I really thought they were very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, the red, it was just that you could do a business on teaching people how to do minutes. Okay, so moved and seconded, roll call please.
James Blake.
Yes.
Mark Porter.
Yes.
William Coons.
Yes.
Elisa Rudolph.
Yes.
Phyllis Marina.
Yes.
Okay, agenda item number 1, this is PC case number 24-01, the application by Chagrin Schools for the parking and storm drain improvements to the west parking lot at Gurney Elementary School. The public hearing was held immediately prior to this, where we heard a presentation regarding this agenda item, along with public comment from several surrounding property owners and potentially impacted property owners. Are there any other comments or concerns regarding the plans? Again, my only concern is that choke point, but now I'm looking at the plans there, and it says like where the stop line is, it says there's a 6-inch concrete curb. So that turn is curved? That's what it looks.
Yeah, it does say that.
I'm not an architect, but I look at so many of these, I'm starting to fool myself.
Yes, it is type 6 concrete curb, this is a 6-inch concrete curb.
My only suggestion for at least that curb would be to paint it red and put fire lane. I think people would actually, as much as it's a complete free-for-all circus up there, I think people would honor that. And if you have a stop sign with that stop bar there, I feel like if people don't park on that, then I'm good. But that was my only issue.
That works, that does work instead of 12.
Yes. I have kids at every school, so I get it. I've had a full experience here. Okay, so that's my only issue. My only I wouldn't make it a condition, but my only suggestion would be, at least on that curb, paint it red and put it fire lane. I think that would alleviate some of my concerns. So does anybody else have any concerns or?
Phyllis, this could be your first official act, make a motion.
Oh.
I do have one comment. We're watching stormwater the last 3-4 years more closely than ever before. And we're still doing projects for stormwater. And from what you've shown, your project's not gonna make it any worse. Maybe it'll make it better. But we're gonna monitor that too over the next few years to, ensure that it does.
Sir.
Okay?
Yeah, and this is, by the way, I appreciate you have kids in the district, you're up there.
Yeah.
That probably contributed to, I'm up there all the time. You really came up with a fantastic solution to what I thought was maybe an unsolvable problem. So, I was very impressed with this plan. So.
Appreciate it, yeah. Spent a few hours out there, so.
Yes. You sat there thinking, what can I do to? Okay, so did you make the motion? I'm sorry.
I move to approve PC case 2401.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
James Blake.
Yes.
Mark Porter.
Yes.
William Coons.
Yes.
Elisa Rudolph.
Yes.
Phyllis Marina.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have signed stuff for you. We'll pick it up this week at the building department if you need it. But yeah. So
I do have to say, this is extremely well done. I've been to a million of these too.
it's all her.
It's very impressive.
We have nothing to do with it. Believe me.
Thank you for inviting us today forward to attend. Placing us on track.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Great to see you guys.
Thank you for saying Hey, have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
Nice to meet you.
Okay. Okay, so there were no other agenda items, but under old business, we were gonna discuss zoning of 1194 Bell Road, former Citizens Bank. So I think I brought my zoning book, which is, the old versions of the
Nice.
number, the page
Same.
numbers don't match.
They don't match,
You
yeah, I have
may-
the same old one too, and the new one, I don't know what it is.
So I think we were talking about, that's a B2 and changing it to a B1.
Yes, so, if you, Dave, do you wanna
Yeah.
maybe fill everybody in, but yes, we did speak about this at the last, planning commission meeting, just a consideration, right, it was brought up, go ahead, Dave.
You had a gentleman call, potential buyer, would like to put a business in that building. The business would be, he heads up safaris. And he's got a big collection of art that he'd like to display in that building. When he mentioned that he would like to sell some of the art, I said, well, now you're talking about a retail sale. So he asked me to come to planning commission to see if they might have a thought, positive or negative, about rezoning that piece of property so he could purchase it. He's going to comply with everything else. He might have an ADA issue with the bathroom, but I'm checking into that. I don't think so, because they're downstairs and they're not going to be remodeled. He is very up on trying to buy that building for that business. He
From
runs
Safari.
safaris all over the world.
Okay,
It's a safari business?
Yeah, it's a safari business, but it's going to be like, the only thing that's going to be not fitting our code would be retail sale of his art.
It's like a travel.
Yeah. So he asked me, you think it's a possibility? Would you ask planning commission if it's a possibility? If it's not, I won't even put it off.
So, and just so, you know, the purchaser was thinking of possibly initiating an amendment to the zoning.
Yes.
Not necessarily planning initiating it or council initiating it, the purchaser and the owner.
You mean like a petition or something?
No, I mean, we have that possibility. It's
Yeah.
just like our zoning amendment, just
Something
like
bring it to us.
any other, except that it's initiated by a property. It'll come here, and then planning decides if they're gonna make a recommendation to council for approval. They could modify it as well, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's, again, it would just be a text, or excuse me, it'd be just a map change. It would not be a text change.
so B2, which is what it currently is, and if you may recall, that's what the whole shopping plaza one was, which was operating illegally for years. But we never really noticed. And I'll take equal blame for that. So B2, main permitted uses are residential, I've always thought that's interesting. Offices or personal services, which if you want a good kick, read our personal services definition. And municipal cemetery. And conditional uses are just wireless communication facilities and bed and breakfasts. If you go to a B1, which is what we changed the plaza to, we would have main permitted uses of residential, offices, personal services, and then that adds retail. And then conditional uses, that's what gets interesting. That adds the potential of gas stations, restaurants, commercial amusements, automotive sales, mortuaries, wireless telecommunications facility. So you're expanding the potential conditional uses. Now, conditional uses come to us.
Correct.
We have to approve that, and that's a high burden.
Yes.
But that's what you'd be looking at is, basically it's, do you want to allow retail there and possibly allow a restaurant there under a conditional use? That would be the main effect of changing it from B2 to B1, right?
Right. And the other option obviously would be for the purchaser owner to seek a use variance. But that's also a very high burden too.
What does everybody think?
That'd be good with a restaurant there.
Yeah.
The bank building hasn't sold in quite a while. Doesn't look like there's a lot of activity, although it changes realtor every so often.
Yeah.
So maybe a reclassification, rezoning is in order.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, at least if somebody came to us with a restaurant, we could we could consider it as a conditional use and put a bunch of conditions on it, and,
Yeah.
I mean, I think there'd be some serious parking issues over there, but yeah, like maybe a great coffee shop. I mean, I wish Team Rabbit was there instead of where it is. But, I think that the way we have the B1 now, that's almost kind of sticking out like a sore thumb that it's not B1, right? I mean, what do you think, Dave? I mean, don't you, I just feel like it should be B1. What do you think?
Oh, definitely.
Oh,
We
you
want,
okay.
hopefully we can get somebody here in the May meeting.
Well, here's the problem. The problem is if if it's a map change, I mean, do we have to provide all the notices to the surrounding property owners? I mean, we gotta do all that,
Oh,
right?
yeah, we still do.
Okay, so we gotta have a public hearing.
Absolutely, it's the exact,
The-
it's just being initiated by the property owner instead of planning commission initiating.
But if we initiate it, then we gotta have the public hearing.
Same with the property owner.
Yeah, and then we have to notify the surrounding,
Correct.
adjoining property owner, or it's within so many feet, right? How many?
Right.
Probably the shopping center and,
But
other people.
And then-
right now, what you were explaining was that he doesn't own the property, he's looking to buy it. correct?
Yes,
Right.
Okay, but the current owner isn't requesting it,
no, we do, the potential buyer.
okay.
He's going to be.
He was thinking of initiating it
Okay, he
himself.
can initiate
He
it.
wanted to know the planning commission's thought was unofficially if they would accept a rezoning that parcel, so he could make an offer, present some plans, and then give it to the planning commission.
I mean, unofficially, we would consider it.
Why don't we just do it ourselves rather than, who knows what he's gonna bring us? I mean, I don't like,
I
huh?
mean,
That's fine, I don't care.
I was just thinking organically.
If he brings it to us, then we can't do it in May.
Why not? I mean,
Because we have to set the public meeting at a hearing.
Oh, no, I
So
hear
then
you.
he's looking
But
at,
if we decide tonight, we can set the public hearing tonight.
well, we don't have it in front of us. We don't have an application. We
Yeah,
don't
why are we
have.
jumping through hoops right now?
we don't need an applicant. Well, I'm saying, if we all think that it should be B1, why don't we do what we did to the shopping center, and just change it to B1? They didn't ask us to, we just thought we should.
It should be a B1, I think. Yeah.
Or wait for the guy, I don't care, because then it's gotta go to council then, right?
Same,
After,
yeah, both-
Yeah.
no matter which way it goes, it's gotta go to council.
I mean, if that deal falls through, it'll be more conducive to any buyer if it's B1, right?
Yeah.
I would expect the owner to want it.
Or we'll just have another bank move in. I mean, that could happen too.
Yeah, we have a medical office, you could have, I mean, that's what's allowed there.
I mean, I imagine it still has the vault, the safe or whatever, that banks typically have, but, not much has been going on there lately.
Yeah, I don't know what bank would move in there, though, I don't know, they love building new buildings, I mean, they're doing that in Chardon, they're doing it everywhere.
But in Bainbridge.
Yeah,
Really quick, going back to your point about, who gives notice and that sort of thing. I mean, still, yes, we give the notice, but there is a deposit that the property owner would put down for the cost of that. That is in our code, to cover the cost.
so you want to make him,
No, it's not that I want to, I just feel like that's like more, I mean, right now we have a purchaser, someone who's interested in the property. I don't know if they have a deal yet, they might. A purchase agreement, either way, it can't just be the purchaser that comes here, it has to, the owner's gotta say, yes, it's okay, or have some sort of contract, right?
you have to have an option.
Right, I mean, otherwise, would you rezone it if it wasn't under contract?
And I'm getting the impression this guy doesn't want to put an offer in unless it is rezoned. Is that what I'm hearing? So, back to my original question, can this prospective buyer initiate it without any contract to buy it?
I don't think so. I
No,
think
the
there would have to
property
be,
owner.
the property owner would have to, or the property owner would have to
Who owns it
authorize
right now, Citizens Bank or?
No, a guy bought it from private.
Okay.
Why don't we do this, since building inspector's been dealing with it, go back to the prospective buyer and say, we would be agreeable to being approached, to have that rezoned from B2 to B1, and his next step is to get permission from the owner to approach council. The prospective buyer can't do it, the owner has to do
It would be approaching planning commission,
it, and come to the planning commission.
correct?
Okay, so your preferred, I mean,
No, again,
I don't wanna cut corners, I just was like, yeah, let's just
Sure.
zone it ourselves, but if your preferred course of action would be have him apply for the rezoning and put the deposit down, and then, you know, that'll cover the costs of notifying everybody.
right, and it'll also cover the cost for CT to redo the map.
All of it.
Okay, well, that's fair,
That deposit from the applicant is required, right?
That's correct, it's on page 22 of the old book, it's under 3.06A, 1 and 2.
The planning
We up those.
commission waived that?
What's that?
The planning commission waived that?
I'm sure, yes, I'm sure it could if there was a.
I think it's an application fee, so.
It is.
No, if we have to pay CT and we gotta do certified mail to these property owners,
Not
Yeah.
certified.
that's not, it's just,
No, it's not certified.
would we have to do the Fox Run neighborhood people or the HOA, because it's across the street?
Contiguous.
It's,
It's not,
Touching properties.
We could did that. I don't know, I'll just do
Just
that for
adjoining?
the other shop. Yeah, just adjoining maybe.
okay, so that's
Just
not,
adjoining. It's
That's
not
not
much.
a lot.
It's just
No.
the businesses.
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
businesses, yeah.
Just out into the west.
It'd be a very popular thing to get that rezoned.
Okay, well, I mean, not that we prejudged anything, but I think everybody thinks it would be appropriate to rezone the property, so if you wanna communicate with the guy that,
Because, you know, you still control, planning commission still controls what goes over there. They have to approve whatever goes in there, so it's not like, carte blanche, take what you do what you want. You guys still control things, and I just go back there and say, hey, start moving forward and see what they say. And I think he's gonna be able to.
the one thing I was thinking, you know, cause I spend a lot of my free time thinking about this stuff, I don't know what's wrong with me, but if we do get to the point where we're approving a new business over there, I think we have to get, you know, for under like our traffic circulation, I think we have to get a stipulation that they keep those two driveways open. Because I was thinking, you know, what stops somebody from buying that place and closing those driveways down? That would put a
Oh,
real
yeah.
crimp in our style.
yeah, that's
You have
right.
the in out.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that would be a serious
Or
issue.
if it's something that would utilize that drive-up window, like a coffee place or a donut place, it would be in their best interest to have an in out.
It would, but, you know, I don't know, because I thought, you know, the one way you could solve the parking problem over there would be to eliminate the right driveway and do angled spacing there.
Yeah.
Basically cut that off.
Yeah.
Again, you know, just thinking, hey, how would I get, if I wanted to turn that into a restaurant and get more parking spaces, that's what I would do. But, you know, I think we need to, if we're approving a new business over there, I would like to get it stipulated and attached to that property that they've got to keep that, you know, in and out.
Both guys.
Yes, don't you think? Because that would be a huge issue if that went away. So,
Good idea.
yeah. That was just, you know, again, I have way too much time thinking about this.
I'll relay your thoughts to him. I'll relay your thoughts.
Okay. Okay, any other old business?
I just have one question, you know, we're talking about parking.
Was it your text message you sent? I was like, had the flu and I saw it.
I'm sorry,
like,
no, and preface it, I am thrilled Lopez is here. But I was pulling out of St. John's Saturday around 6:45, and I was gonna go through Daisy. There was a mini little parking jam in the street. It didn't last long, but I'm like, all right. And then as I'm coming up, it was a patron. It wasn't a valet. Was backing his car up on the sidewalk part. And I'm like, all right, are you getting any complaints from anyone in the area, the other restaurants or anyone? Because there are parking people on both sides of the thing. And before, I thought Pony Boys only had cars on the.
No, they had it on both sides.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good thing?
Yeah, they did. They had the like parallel spots on the one side.
But they're not
straight-
parallel.
Oh, they're straight in both sides? No, well, that's sad.
Yeah, just drive through there, go to, on a Saturday. Just to see, because I usually go to Sunday Mass. I happen to go to the vigil and then the presentation after, so when I was leaving, it was right at peak dinner time, and I haven't been down that way in the summer.
I haven't witnessed any problems over there.
But
I,
I'm hoping no one's complaining.
Yeah.
It didn't slow traffic down enough for me to be temperamental, but I just observed it, but this is a little odd.
Well, and you wonder, does this happen a lot,
That's what I know.
you know?
And it was kind of early.
Yeah, I make a point to try to, you know, if the police, I don't know, maybe talk to the police and see if they've had any complaints, or if there's been any, you know, if they've had an uptick in incidents over there. I haven't seen anything. I mean,
I'm glad.
I feel like the whole situation down there has been better overall.
And the first one's.
You know, even the industrial park, everything, I feel like,
Yeah. And Brentwood doesn't have a problem with their parking.
yeah, I know. I
But
don't know what this
Union
would happen.
would be my greater concern.
You know, if you sitting in Hunan, you can't, the number of people come walking by their front door, whoever's they park behind, and the number of valets that you just see running back and forth. I mean, there's a lot of action
And
going
they
on.
go through the front of Hunan.
They-
Well, they all sit down.
Yeah.
Shop cut that down,
Yeah.
didn't they? 'Cause they used to go through the back so they wouldn't be in front of them.
Yeah,
There's a lot of activity.
the Hoonian owner, I mean, he's been pretty patient, I feel like.
That's good.
Okay,
No.
any other old business?
No.
Any new business?
I have one other thing.
Okay,
I was approached by Lopez Restaurant.
okay.
Another conversation.
What's wrong? Dave's sitting there the whole time like, oh, God.
Oh, no,
But anyway, what he would like to do is cover his back patio.
So
And I told him
can-
that to the planning commission, but they don't want to spend the money for an architect unless he gets some kind of positive initiative from the planning commission to do it. He would still have to comply with our parking, which he agrees to 100%. He has to comply with our fire marshal, he's gonna have to put another door inside the restaurant. And for egress, but he just wanted me to maybe get your thoughts if he should go ahead and get this architect to draw it up and present it to the planning commission.
Where's he putting another door?
It's a challenge, but it's a requirement, and I guess the business is such in the summer that he wants to, he
How do
can
you-
afford to put the door on
I
there.
think he's,
They've got no scripture for it.
and he's been from,
Move some seats.
on the other side.
He's,
So this.
oh, he's gonna have it facing Burntwood?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's kind of like an emergency exit out that way, which,
But not a door to the patio?
No.
No.
I was gonna say,
Just as another one in the restaurant because of the occupant board.
Probably put
Oh,
that
okay.
on the, did you want me to bring it
that
up?
would be nice to cover.
Yeah, it's in an email, right?
I'll bring it up, if you're making it, it's
Yeah, nice.
basic right now.
What's the?
Pull it up.
yeah.
Can you pull it up on the maps?
Oh, no, she's pulling up, the email, did he,
Oh, okay.
what did he do, give us like a,
It's got a drawing or something?
Yes.
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 It's a rough one to sketch.
That's not it. What's the title of the email?
I thought it was
Lopez
just
Restaurant?
Lopez Restaurant.
is it the first one, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. Okay.
Did you make that from off?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So there's 2 pages. This is the first one.
Oh, there, the doors that you got over there.
There's
How close is that to Burntwood's property? Are they gonna put up?
Well, aren't they right on the line?
They said,
We said this gonna work something out.
yeah, it was like an easement or
He says
something.
Because they didn't want that sign
You
on the
can't
side.
use this
Painted sign?
Yeah, but it's an emergency exit, I mean, you can't, if there's a fire, you can't tell people you can't come on my property.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly right.
I don't really know that Burntwood would have anything to say over that,
Well,
as long as the doors.
You have the door open
Yeah.
in, not out. But I don't think you can, it's fire door has to open.
So he's not increasing the footprint of the patio, he's just covering what they
this
have.
color,
Yeah.
increasing.
But that is a great idea.
No more seating,
I don't see the big deal.
no more seating.
Is there,
Well,
well,
he's gonna have to-
for us to do? Is there like a standard is to meet for a covering over his patio, or is it, we just need to approve the change?
Yes,
Yeah, because it's.
yeah, because they're conditional use, so he's changing
So it's
the
changed,
restaurant.
okay.
Any exterior modification to a building.
And that's what for
Wait, scroll back down for a second, back to my original issue.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not making, yeah, I guess they did do parking on both sides.
I just want to see the parking lot, see where
Yeah,
you
he does.
see,
Yes.
So Dave, the only issue I guess I could see is
and then
you got,
go up to the street a little bit. Stop, right there. That's what, see where it says curb sidewalk? That's where the guy was backing into the spot. I don't know. I mean, if he opened his door, he'd be on the street.
Wow.
The only issue I would think, if he's gonna put, Ruth, can you take it, down to show us where the possible door would be? Theoretically, if that door would swing out, it would hit a parked car at Burnwood, right? Does it have
It would have to swing out, I don't know.
have
if
to
it-
swing out? I'm thinking of the fire marshal, how tight.
I don't know, but, you know, talking to the architect, he said they're gonna work it all out,
Okay.
you know.
Can we, is
It
there
only needs
anything
30
beyond
inches.
that going
I
down?
don't know if he has 30
Can he
inches,
put it in
but
the back
right,
of the
he
building?
needs 30 inches.
He seems to be confident that he's gonna have it working in.
Because if not, you could put it right there. And it'll just open out to the
The back of the
If-
building would go into the
The chain link fence.
bicycle
Okay,
parking
bicycle
lot.
parking.
They may allow it.
That is a tight little spot.
Well, we'll have to see if he makes it with the door and everything else, but, you know, it seems like we're more or less amenable to his request without
Yeah.
committing ourselves to anything.
That's what I want you to do.
I mean, you could just do what Burnwood did and build it in the dead of night, not tell us.
And then complain bitterly about the people.
It's about as bad as I've ever seen, Dave. Especially when you did this, there's no snow load calculation, that thing could have collapsed.
We're gonna get it. His first comment to me was that his architect, I can do it. I said, you can't do it. Our fire marshal agrees with me and I agree with fire marshal. We need another exit. He goes, no way, you don't understand the code. And after he got into the code, he came back and says, you can't do it. Put out another door. It was kind of cool.
Okay, well, that's, at least he came back and, so it sounds like that's an apology, I take it as one. Okay, anything else?
So that's all I have.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're adjourned, thank you, everyone. You don't
Yeah, let me get the.
These are gonna be the.
You don't keep this out.
No, but I have to sign, I don't have to sign that one. Or maybe,
Collecting them.
this is,
Yeah.
okay.
Phillips.
Yeah,